This particular story is about the Perk family. I was very lucky I got the family I did. I was still very much affected by Jamie's death, and they managed to help me come back to some semblance of normalcy, at least as normal as anyone within an environmentally conscious and liberal family could feel. This experience was new and exciting to me. My mom was an actual hippie when she was a teenager, but her wild ways had taken the form of loving responsibility once Jamie was born, and our family dynamic at home represented this set of circumstances. Pitt, my host father, was the patriarch. This was not to say that each of us within the family didn't have equal representation, because we did. Next was my host mother, Renata. Pitt and Renata were both in their early 40s, I would say, when I stayed there in 2000, and were quite the odd couple indeed. My mom and dad back home were not afraid of showing love and affection in front of us kids, and that's how I am myself today in some degree. But Pitt and Renata would smile at each other from time to time, and Renata would look at Pitt as if to say, "You're so strange," and then walk away on the balls of her feet. She took pride in how she carried herself, and she was always in good shape, although I don't remember her working out. They were primarily vegetarian, and on special occasions, either Pitt or Renata would cook meat to make me feel more at home. They had two daughters, Karina, who went to my school and shared two classes with me, English and sport, the equivalent of phys ed, had been placed in a host family somewhere south of the Mason-Dixon that same year I was there. Karina was an exchange student the year before in the US, and that's why she decided to take me in. The price YFU charges is drastically less if a family is willing to take in an exchange student of their own. The other benefit the Perk family lent me was that despite the fact that they all spoke nearly perfect English, they made it a rule that we were only to speak German in our house. I can tell you this much: you get out of something what you're willing to invest into it. I met plenty of exchange students that year that simply didn't want to immerse themselves into the culture. Karina and I started out well enough, but within the first few weeks, I got mad at her for introducing me as my exchange student, effectively making me feel, objectified by her words. I wish I had the forgiving mentality that I developed sometime later in life, as this petty reason kept us from being friends, let alone like siblings. I couldn't see it at the time, but I'm sure I was afraid to let her in my life as a sister with the guilt of leaving Jenny and losing Jamie. The whole family was like next level intelligent, and I know Renata had some form of university from which she derived her career as a tech guru, setting up online classrooms. This concept was foreign back then, but she assured me that it was cutting edge. I don't assume Pitt had any secondary education as a Müller or Miller, yet he spoke four languages fluently and often recited, "Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move the lips. It's a bunch of gibberish," and then switched to rapping in Esperanto, an early attempt at a universal language. And then he spoke in Italian. Beyond his linguistics, he also set goals for himself to strengthen his mind, body, and soul. He gave up eating for Lent, and as I write or speak this today, Pitt didn't eat for 40 days. In the process, he lost something like 80 pounds. I think to generalize, I would say they were a progressive thinking, liberal, environmentally aware type of people. Although the description of liberal is strictly American in the sense that Germany's democracy is actually democracy, where all of its constituents have a voice, and the number of parties represented in the German parliament are more than six. In the US, the liberal camp steals from the Democratic representation until the working class suffers enough to put a Democrat back into office. It's the fact that a two-party political system evades true representation. We recycled, composted, used public transportation and bicycles. We ate vegan, we had solar panels on our roofs, soda stream to create carbonated beverages instead of buying sodas, and last but not least, grew vegetables and herbs. They gave me the responsibility of cleaning my room weekly and the rest of the house every month, laundry included. I loved them as a family and still do to this day. which makes me feel less whole than I probably would have if I kept in contact with him all these years. But as I explained, I haven't kept up with anyone because of Jamie. I suppose that in my mind, even if something were to happen to them, I wouldn't know the difference and wouldn't be crushed. This coping mechanism has plagued me long enough, and quite honestly, someday when the conditions are right, I do want to go back and visit to tell Pitt and Renata exactly how much they helped me heal and grow as a human being. The lesson? Blood is not a defining characteristic of family. The whole my blood concept convolutes and bastardizes children who need the wisdom and love of the whole village.